Good afternoon. My name is Nick Stamos. I'm the co-founder and CEO of nCrypted Cloud. This is my fourth startup. I've had the privilege of returning over $1 billion to investors in my previous startups. And this is a continuation of my last one. It's really focused around securely sharing information outside your corporate borders. And we'll talk about why that's a challenging problem. It started back in spring of 2005. I was on my third company there, a company called Digital Guardian. We were visiting as a DLP company. We were visiting Daimler at the time. And the CISO walks in, and he throws this magazine on the table, and he says, "This is what I need you to help me with." One, I don't speak German. So as I'm looking at the magazine, I'm like, you really have to help me a little bit with what the issue is. And he says, well, that's the problem. The cover of the magazine happens to be the new S-Class Mercedes. And the core issue was that it was about 6 months before release that it got basically on the cover of one of the publications. And he says, this is my challenge. This cannot happen again. And I said, okay, well, how did it get lost? And he said, well, we think it was somewhere in the supply chain. And I said, well, do you want us to prevent the data from leaving Daimler, and therefore it won't have an issue in terms of exposing it to the supply chain? He said, no. We have to share information in the supply chain. I want you to secure the data in the supply chain. And I said, well, that's not something we can do. Data loss prevention is really about containing information within your organization. It doesn't secure data in other organizations. And I did try to solve the problem at Digital Guardian. Thinking about it, it ends up that it's a radically different solution. And this isn't a problem just back in 2005. In fact, recently, if there's any fans around the new Orange is Black, right, they got hacked. But it wasn't Netflix that had the issue. It was actually one of the Larson Studios, one of their external sort of supply chain providers in that area. So our solution basically is focused, if we take sort of one of our biggest customers, Humana, when we think about that problem set, it's really how do their 70,000 employees share information with their 250,000 business partners, with their 1.2 million providers and their 15 million customers. And obviously a company like Humana, everything they do is basically HIPAA-oriented, so it's regulated. And that communication channel becomes very complex once you add regulated data or crown jewel information. Very, very hard to do. So whether it's Humana or Magic Leap or L Brands or GE Nuclear, it's all sort of the same issue. How do you share information securely outside the corporate borders? And so why is this such a hard problem? Well, the first core issue is that collaboration today means giving away the data. You attach a document to an email, you send it to your accountant, your attorney, whatever. They have that data now in their hands, right? We're giving it away, whether it's email, whether it's SFTP, whether it's whatever the case may be, we're giving it away. So large IT organizations then have controls to prevent data from leaving that organization, which impedes productivity, it impedes user experience, so on and so forth. We've all probably gotten a secure mail from our financial institution, or we've gotten it from our doctor's office or the healthcare provider, and we've experienced the wonderful secure mail experience, right, which is absolutely horrible. And then there's the reliability factor. If you are one of these companies that has these concerns, you're probably collaborating with other companies with similar issues. And you have absolutely no control over the security policies that they're going to have. So for example, GE is Box's biggest customer in the world, okay? They themselves actually block Box, in addition to most of their partners in terms of what's there, for security reasons. Another client, PwC, right? They're one of Google Apps' biggest customers out there, but they don't allow any sharing out of Google Apps. Why? They're concerned about reputation. Do their customers have concerns around their audit reports sitting in a Google Drive account in terms of what's there? So it's a very complex problem in terms of what's there. So I'm not going to go into all the details of how we do it, but I want to give you guys a feel for the simple user experience that we provide, because our objective is this. We want to have a simpler user experience than Dropbox has, a more secure data solution than even on-prem storage, and as reliable as corporate email. Because what we found is when everything fails, people will fall back to email, which is the most insecure collaboration mechanism you could use today. So let's pretend that we're sitting on our Windows desktop. We have a folder called Sensitive Documents sitting there, and we want to share it externally. How do we do that easily today and easier than Dropbox? Well, you right-click, you select Trusted Sharing, one click, up comes a prompt. You can basically pick your different options, view, edit, download, watermark, upload, whatever you want within that environment. Admins can set the defaults in terms of what's there. Bring up your global address book or your contacts, whatever you want. Pick your users, pick your groups, click OK, send, you're done. It's that simple. And I think if anybody's used current techniques, this is much easier than anything else that's out there today. Now let's talk about the other side of the house. What's the recipient experience like? First of all, the only requirement we put on the recipient is an email address and a browser. So they get an email. In this case, this comes from John Juris. It's branded Global Energy Delivery, because that's essentially where he's coming from. And all you have to do is basically access share. They click the button, they come into our portal, they now see the documents that was in that folder. Again, we select watermark, they go into our secure viewer. They can actually see the documents watermarked with the recipient's email address and IP address, so this happens dynamically on the fly. We prevent printing, we prevent clipboards, we prevent all those sort of activities, again, just purely in a browser. No plugins, no provisioning, no installation, nothing whatsoever. They can upload as many documents as they want, no limitations on file size whatsoever or document types, and they're done. So in summary, easier than Dropbox, more secure than on-prem, as reliable as corporate mail. And finally, actually Microsoft has agreed to pilot the product internally. There's a need that I guess folks here have, just like everybody else has. If you're interested in participating in the pilot, please email Derek Houtz, and it should be available in a few weeks. Thank you.